Alright, this is Phoebus Apollo for video blog update number 3. I just figured I'd go ahead and do another update, and a video blog's been kind of fun to put together and do video editing and whatnot. But topics as of late have been a little irritating, so I have plenty to say, I'm sure. Alright, so I'm just going to break it up topic by topic, just like last time, and here we go. My main commentary tonight is going to be about licksaying.com and the Sony debacle. For those of you who don't know, Sony sued licksaying.com, which is a very, very popular international importer of gaming-related goods, over sales of the PSP in Europe. They speculated that it violated EU and UK conventions and repeatedly tried to take them into court for the distribution. The funny thing is that nothing of the actual product that Licksaying sold was, incompatible with EU, UK safety standards or any of that. Straight up, they're just trying to control distribution because they're Sony, and Sony are dicks because they're Japanese. But that's another story. So they continually sued licksaying.com over this. I personally like Licksaying. I actually ordered something from them once. It's this little Game Boy Advance movie player dealio. Now, you see, the thing about Licksaying is that it supplies a lot of things like this that are not really available anywhere in the U.S. And they're available online, but there's no real good central place to get that kind of stuff. And I went and picked this up. And, this does a good job. It's basically playing MP3s. There's going to be a better version of this kind of thing out. It's going to be DS specific. It's going to be a little more money. But it's going to be out pretty soon. And, I was planning to buy that through licksaying.com because they got me this thing. But not going to happen because the assholes at Sony decided that they're going to sue them into oblivion. So it wasn't a lawsuit that actually made them go out of business. It was the legal expenses of maintaining the lawsuit throughout the whole course of the time. And all in all, it's pretty ridiculous. Sony, if anything, they were probably just trying to knock out a very popular Wii pre-ordering service, which is, that's about as good of a conspiracy theory as I could get. And that was courtesy of the dude says at Blogspot. But otherwise, straight up, Sony are dicks. And the most hypocritical thing about this whole situation is that at least three of Sony's head executives in European divisions have actually ordered PSP-related goods from Licksaying and gotten like mugs and stuff like that too. Fucking ridiculous. Anyway, it's like I said before, Sony has a bad attitude. And they're beginning to, they're really beginning just to get under my nerves. But I hope that the gaming public, they're also getting under their nerves too, because I want to see the PS3 bomb. Because the PS3 sucks. Sony sucks. They're arrogant assholes. Don't buy their stuff. I figured I would supplement the gaming discussion earlier by offering up a review of Just Cause, a new game that we just got. And it's basically kind of like a GTA style game where you run around and you grab vehicles and you go on crazy anti-policia raids. But basically the story is about Rico Rodriguez. He's a CIA operative specializing in regime change, and the island nation of San Espirito is the subject. And the San Espirito government has been stockpiling WMDs, working with the drug cartels, hanging out with Hugo Chavez too much. So basically, we got to go in there and just totally fuck up their country, take it over, whatever. So, Rico, who is a superhuman being who can survive like hundreds of feet falls, who can like leap thousands of feet, whatever, he has to negotiate this giant, gorgeous island with, his little trusty parachute that always deploys instantly, and a couple of guns that have infinite ammo, and free motorcycles everywhere. So, really fun game. The only thing that's actually really turned me off to it, besides just the general, annoyance of high-speed chase controls, which, like GTA, are too realistic in that, if you can spin out of control easily and hit things when you're driving really fast. The only thing that's really annoyed me besides that is that occasionally some of the missions seem to have bugs, like straight up don't work bugs. Like I was playing one mission, there's like a fuel tanker, and you got to blow up the fuel tanker. Fuel tanker did not exist. You could walk through it. It was like a solid object, but you could walk your character through it, and no matter what amount of grenading or bombing you did to this, it never blew up, and that was the mission's objective. But these side missions are extraneous. This actually happened to me again too, in another time. When I was supposed to grab an ambulance and steal it. I was supposed to park the vehicle at a meeting point, and the drop-off point. The drop-off point is usually a garage. You just drive into the garage, and the vehicle's stashed, and the mission's over, and you get your points. So I drove this vehicle, and the mission point, or the meeting point, or wherever I was supposed to drop this thing off at, was sort of just hanging in the middle of like a road, and I thought that was weird, and I kept parking the vehicle right on the point, and it again didn't do anything. The mission was unresolvable. So either way, thought it was a good game. Give it 2 thumbs up, and definitely good buy. So if you got a 360. Hopefully, thank God, because they actually have, Xbox Live's really good at doing updates. Hopefully they do an update or something that fixes some of those bugs. And besides that, it's really excellent. Very gorgeous game, too. Like, if you ever get a chance, just go as high as you can in the sky and then parachute over the island, and then just watch the scenic beauty of the landscape pass beneath you. It's really fun. So, yep, Just Cause. Another topic that I ran across that I figured I would comment on for no apparently good reason is abstinence education. Recently, not recently, for a while, there's been a movement to make sure that we have in our school system an education about abstinence from sex. So school children stop having babies and being poor and etc. Premarital sex, whatnot. Now, the revival of Victorian age chastity and purity is really bogus and hokey, for one. That's his personal opinion. I do believe that abstinence works, because if you don't have sex, you won't have children. 2 + 2 = 4. So, I'm not against people advocating that abstaining from sex where possible. In fact, I believe discretion should be highly, advised, expressed to our young people. Use discretion. That is, the key to abstinence is discretion in your partner's, discretion in your lifestyles. Putting yourself in the situation where, hey, you do what you do responsibly. The only problem that I have with abstinence education is that the people who sort of are above the movement are really hollow-minded folks. They mean well, but they don't actually educate too much. Abstinence education, tends to lead to poor information, or being very poorly informed about, sexually transmitted diseases, forms of contraception should you decide to have sex. Because, of course, the whole idea is disdained. Don't have sex ever, period. Sign this agreement, you won't have sex. I think that our young people are, while most of them are stupid, because that they take from the populace, I think that most of them are not above being treated like semi-adults, even when they're still young, about the subject, maturely, and being told, all the information they need to know about the actual act and what becomes of it, the actual, pregnancy, sexually transmitted diseases, the pros and cons. And on the other hand, too, I think they should be informed about what they can do legally, what society says, giving different views, perhaps, so they can contrast and form an opinion, because they're not going to be able to form an opinion if they don't have that input. And, one thing they should be told is, don't have sex, just ever, until you're 30 and you have a career in a house. Then go for it. But since most people won't actually do that, saying, abstinence education just doesn't say enough about the subject to them. It doesn't give them the information they need in the event that they decide not to abstain. And that's not their moral problem, but it's more so the moral problem of people who aren't applying, intellectual honesty to the situation in favor of some sort of culturally mundane sense of, chastity and self-purity and etc. So, chastity belts I'm in favor for. None of you should be having sex and children until you are really old and rich, because I'm tired of seeing people young who have plenty of potential in their lives being tied down to babies everywhere. And, don't have a particularly moral stance on the whole marital thing. Just as long as you're a responsible adult, you're able to, you're intellectually able to deal with the consequences of what you do. What you do is your decision. I respect that. But don't fucking have babies. That's all I'm saying. Just don't have babies. And you'll be good. At least not until you got money and a house. And etc. Alright, yet another topic that I figured I would go ahead and discuss. It appears that Rush Limbaugh, again, has done something completely stupid. I really don't understand why the man even has television shows or, radio or what the fuck ever. Because the guy is, simply put, he's a sort of a relic from like the mid-90s. He's not even, he's sort of a parody of what, a bent, cracked, messed up conservative is supposed to be. And yet, still, people listen to this guy. And apparently, just recently, he said something that's completely proven why nobody should ever listen to him. This year, in October, Michael J. Fox ran an advertisement for Democrat Claire McCaskill, I think. Probably wrong on the name, but whatever. And the Democrat ad was because he's trying to support her for the stem cell research issue. Now, the stem cell research issue is a hot-button topic amongst conservatives, and cracked-out ones will often say something completely idiotic to defend their positions. And in this case, Rush Limbaugh busted out saying that Michael J. Fox was deliberately overacting his Parkinson's disease. And then he mocked him on the show by like jittering around like he had Parkinson's. The sad thing, and the thing that really irritates me about this, is that the advertisement showed Michael J. Fox being completely, jittery, completely fucky, exactly. And he was like that too in a very, very recent interview where he responded to some of the comments. And the situation is, Michael J. Fox has said in the past that he has avoided taking his medication to demonstrate the effects of his disease. What are the effects of his disease? The effects of his disease are bodily rigor and paralysis to a point where it is difficult to talk or speak or do anything. And the effects that he featured in the advertisement that was being criticized by Rush Limbaugh, he was jittering around, he was, sort of like, whatever. And for anyone who has any understanding what Parkinson's disease is, you will know that that is not a consequence of the disease. that is a consequence of taking too much medication or being adversely affected by the medication. So Michael J. Fox has an upcoming advertisement thing he wants to do. He takes medication for it. It makes him jittery, and then Rush Limbaugh says something fucking stupid and should be smacked upside the back of the head for it. Anyway, what's happened to Michael J. Fox is really sad. And, bringing awareness to the issue, supporting crappy Democrats, that's all important, It's actually more important that people understand the benefits of stem cell research.
What I love is we're close to an election, and we're talking about stem cells. And, that's the idea.
And Rush Limbaugh having no intelligent thing to say on the issue, acts like a clown, and should deserve to be mocked by pretty much everybody. First and foremost, I'm going to apologize to my viewers for the abject amount of irritation that I vent on updates like this, and that I'm going to vent now, because I have yet another topic that irritates the hell out of me. That's peak oil. For a long time, people have been saying we're burning out our natural resources. It's a primary argument of the environmentalist movement, of all levels. And one of the key issues is peak oil. When we have reached our peak of production globally, and when oil will no longer be available for conventional purchase. And this is especially important because oil prices recently had a spike. They came back down a little bit now, but they're still much higher than before. And they continue to go up. The overall price of oil over the years has gone up beyond the speed of inflation. And understanding why that happens, I say, has more to do with the economics of having, first of all, an oil cartel be the main supplier, and then second of all, having large corporate interests be the main, middleman, getting the oil to us. However, peak oil argument is essentially that, we'll run out of that oil eventually. And logic dictates that we will run out of the oil eventually. However, in this sense, our conventional logic, or the way that we're approaching the situation, is probably not that good. Because economics tells us that the more something is demanded and the less it is supplied, the more the price will go up, naturally. And long before we ever pump the last bit of oil out of the wells, we will either A, find something that is a better alternative to oil, which is something we really should focus on doing right now, just as a policy in general. And in my opinion, again, the best way to do that is to liberate energy markets, stop regulating them, allow them to be financed and invested in however. Or B, we won't tap the last of the oil. It'll become too expensive for us to buy. So we'll be stuck in a situation where there will be oil in the wells that'll just be useless to the majority of us, since we won't be willing to pay the exorbitant price to get the oil out of the wells. So we find ourselves in a situation, lots of doom and gloom predictions. We're going to run out of oil, and it's the same predictions that we've seen for other natural resources. People continually say we're going to run out of the resources. Continually, history proves them wrong, that the resources are, we find more creative ways to get the resources. The resources exist in much greater abundance than previously thought, or we find more efficient replacements or, uses for the resources. And I think that human ingenuity, all things aside, government bullshit, for instance, could be a hindrance to this. But human ingenuity will find out some method to effectively either phase out oil or find a more efficient way to use it. And that's a necessity of the marketplace, first of all, since there's a financial interest in doing this. And it's a necessity of people in general, since, you know, if we do lose oil, we're not going to not have cars. You know, that's not going to be accepted by the, you know, American working class, or the rich people for that matter. You know, even rich people aren't going to pay thousands of dollars for gallons, you know, to get around in their cars. We're not going to all go back to riding bicycles. It's simply not going to happen. We'll find out some other thing to use. We'll use electricity if we have to, but electricity is not a very suitable replacement at the time. But we'll use electricity long before that happens. You know, when oil is $10 a gallon, you will be using electricity. We can do that now. And you know, even though those cars, you know, use some gas, their mileage is much more incredible. And you know, the fuel efficiency of cars today could be very, very much higher. However, there's so many standards and regulations that control the industry that I don't expect to see them out in the market in a very cost-effective manner soon. And the primary person harmed by the whole peak oil discussion is not the guy who sits on his throne saying, "Oh, we're going to run out of oil in 2010 or 2030 or whatever." The person harmed is the poor person who is caught in the middle, really, because the government on the one hand is an impediment to this whole process, the whole process of discovering either more oil reserves, discovering better fuels than oil, you know, discovering better ways to use it. It's a stifler to the industry, and that affects the poor people. The other thing that affects the poor people is that we don't have a practical solution to the problem that already exists. It's a problem we know about, but we deter ourselves from analyzing that problem by making stupid predictions about things that we really don't know enough about to be making stupid predictions about. Okay. Well, that's my video blog update for now. I'm going to head and wrap it up, and if you have any comments, be sure to leave them either on my MySpace or on my forums at Monticello. So go ahead, and thanks for watching.